In this second section, we are going to see how to build a REST login service using Spring 5. The notions that we are going to learn are how to create a Spring 5 application, what is Spring Web Flux and how to use it, what is Spring MVC and how to use it, and in the last video we are going to see how to create a login REST endpoint using Spring 5. This first video is about how to create Spring 5 applications. In this video, we are going to take a look at what is Spring, what is Spring Boot, what is the difference between Spring and Spring Boot, what are the new functionality in Spring 5, and how to create an app with Spring 5. So, what is Spring? Spring is a framework that provides a common programming and configuration model for Java applications. The main characteristics of Spring are: is an application framework based on Java, is an open source project supported by Pivotal, it promotes the dependency injection pattern, it provides aspect-oriented functionalities, makes easy to create MVC and RESTful web application with the MVC module, and it has support for JDBC, JPA, and JMS. To have more information about Spring or read the relative documentation, visit the page project.spring.io/spring-framework. And now, let's take a look at what is Spring Boot. Spring Boot wants to facilitate the creation of standalone production-ready applications based on Spring. The main features of Spring Boot are: it dramatically reduces the amount of configuration and the boilerplate code needed to start your application development. Helps you to focus on the business logic, offering a wide range of integrations. Makes easier distribute and deploy application embedding Tomcat, Jetty, and Undertow. Eliminate version collision problems managing your dependencies and also makes the Maven configuration of your project easier. It offers a lot of microservice-oriented components, so it is a microservice-ready platform. Automatically configures Spring and eliminates the need of XML configuration files. If you want to know more about the Spring Boot project or take a look to its documentation, visit the page project.spring.io/spring-boot. At this point, the question is, what are the differences between Spring and Spring Boot? Essentially, Spring Boot is a platform based on Spring. You could potentially create the same applications using Spring or Spring Boot, but using Spring Boot, you can definitely get it done faster and with less effort. The important thing to notice is that Spring covers a lot of different use cases, and to do so, it has a lot of different modules. Using these modules, you can potentially create a lot of different kinds of applications. The objective of Spring Boot is to facilitate the creation of any of this type of application, providing a comprehensive way of aggregate all these Spring modules. Now that we have a general view of what is Spring, let's see what are the changes made to the framework code base in the version 5. Spring 5 has been updated with JDK 8, Servlet 3.0, JMS 2.0, JPA 2.1, and JUnit 5. The new functionality of Spring 5 are JDK 9, Jigsaw module, that is the new Java module system expected with the JDK 9, Servlet 4, which enforces support for HTTP2 in the Servlet containers, HTTP2, that decrease latency and improve page load speed. It has a new support for reactive programming with the Spring Web Flux module, and also provides support for Kotlin, which is a functional-oriented programming language developed by JetBrains. Now let's create our first Spring 5 application. First of all, you will need to install JDK 8 or later on your machine. To install it, visit the Oracle website. Now that we have our JDK 8 installed, to reduce the time necessary to create an application, we are going to use the Spring Initializer tool. This tool is available on the website start.spring.io. Let's add web as dependencies. And for the purpose of this demo should be enough. So let's click the button Generate, open the loaded file, and then let's import the project inside our editor. Let's select Maven project and JDK 8. Fine. When the import procedure is terminated, let's try to run the main application class to check that everything is working. In our case, the main class is demo application. As we can see here from the log, the application has started correctly on the port 8080. Stop the server. And now, to check that everything is working fine, let's create a demo controller class that returns a message on the root of our localhost. Create a new class, demo controller. Then we need to annotate it as REST controller. And the last step is to create the method that will return our string message. The method needs to be annotated as request mapping, and also we need to declare at what address this message will be returned. In our case, it's going to be on the root. If we run again our server and then we navigate to localhost 8080, we will see the message returned by the REST controller. We see the message hello world returned by the REST controller. So everything is working fine. We will talk more about REST controller and request mapping and notation in the next videos. In this video, we saw what is Spring, what is Spring Boot, what is the difference between Spring and Spring Boot, what are the new functionality in Spring 5, and how to create an app with Spring 5.